also, he's wearing a Teemo hat, playing Teemo. His name is Specimen, and it looks like he is playing the rat Teemo that we saw popularized with Ezreal. I'm extremely excited to see this match.
I am as well. I think he's one of the few Teemos still remaining, and it is the Rat Pit Crew Cole combo. I don't think we've ever seen it. Of course, if it works in the blue mind decks or in the Chaos mind decks of Ezreal, it's going to work similarly in the Teemo decks. Crazy enough, this Teemo went X1 in day 1. I believe I saw him on Twitter. He said he only lost a single match. Apparently, he won his round 9. Going into this round 10, X1 is a great representation of Teemo. Everyone thought Teemo was really falling short in the Spiritforged meta, but Spezzy's out to prove everyone wrong. But they have a really tall Taz in front of them. That's going to be an Irelia player holding down, and that's 3 boots of swiftness. I've never seen an Irelia play that many boots.
No, it looks like this is a slightly more movement-y Irelia, a slightly more aggro Irelia. We do see the sneaky deckhands in the main deck as well. 3 not so fast, 3 boots of swiftness, and the what do you call it? The Riz Draven.
The Riz Draven, I love it. 2 of those Dravens audacious. I like what I'm seeing from the Irelia player. Very consistent, because a lot of people tend to play little 1-ofs, little 2-ofs in Irelia deck. Even myself, I like to throw Flash in there. I like to throw little spicier tech cards like Siren, as we saw from the Jinx player. But perhaps consistency is key at the end of the deck. At the end of the day, I should say. And let's see, can this Teemo player get it done? Because all the base interaction that Irelia has to reside on Charm. If Pit Crew can go in and out, conquer both battlefields, and then stay safe in the back line, Irelia has to hope she draws her Charm, and that is a GG easy Teemo as well. He's Teemo flexing on us.
Flexing. Teemo hat, GG easy Teemo. Like, let's go. I love this guy. I don't care if he wins. He's my champion.
Yeah, I believe he goes on YouTube as Curly Cards, if you guys know him. I know him from the previous card game I played. He's actually a commentator of regionals for the Lorcana. So he's a pretty big...
serious?
Yeah, he's a Lorcana regional commentator. So he's familiar in the commentary booth. It looks like he's a very competitive player as well. So yeah, I've known actually Spessy for a decently long time. Virtually, of course. I don't know him in person, but I've seen him around from time to time.
Yeah, someone in the chat asking, where does the term rat Teemo? So there's a card called Pit Crew that's been popularized by Ezreal, using gear to kind of move around and getting the card and the gold generation. So the rat build is Pit Crew from set 1, which suddenly become very, very viable in set 2.
Yeah, it really has. Weirdly enough, we haven't seen any Ezreals utilize that strategy before, or strategy in day number 1. Perhaps they're hanging around in day number 2, because we've seen the majority of the Ezreals be that traditional, more of that standard miracle package, as we've seen so much success from these decks before. And I'm loving, what's the card? I can't believe, I guess because we don't see him too often, but the one with the skateboard, something border, is it?
Drop border.
Drop border.
Yeah, drop border. So if you got 2 gear, it comes in ready, which obviously gold is gear. So there's a lot of chances of that getting activated. And just using the Teemo legend to drag that Teemo back into hand, keep him nice and safe, away from that lonely Poro, who is very, very lonely and possibly one of the best artworks in the set.
Yeah, they really killed it with that one. But at the minimum, it looks like Irelia should be able to get her first point online. And let's see, is it time to establish out the queen, bring out the fervent for 5? Because I'm trying to consider, what does Teemo have that can potentially take it down as early as it comes out? I mean, we are talking about blue. We are possibly thinking about things like Singularity coming down. But that's a deflect cost. You're going to have 3 runes out of the window to get that job done. I still think it might be worth establishing it this turn, but it depends on what's in hand. If you have something like a Stellar Corn Herder, might be a bit better.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is with the Irelia, like, if you bring it down too early and it gets picked off, you're kind of like an MVP deck, yeah? You've got Irelias and you've got Dravens to kind of, secure those victory conditions. But you're right, like, what can blue purple do to my Irelia? Like, now, probably not a lot. Next turn, quite possibly. But I do just enjoy, like, setting up, being safe, and, keeping lots of runes up as Irelia. I don't like tapping out, because that's when things get scary. The math becomes perfect. But yeah, just playing the Guardian Angel, nice and safe. This isn't going to be a quick game by any means because you're kind of like a control-y deck on the side of the purple. But I don't know if he knows he's running the rat, which speeds the game up extremely quickly.
And yeah, unfortunately for Spessy, he doesn't seem to have the pit crew currently in hand, but does have the ability of looking through the top of his deck to find him. He has a stack deck and a Call of the Week and a gold token at that to kind of pay the extra cost of the Call of the Week. So perhaps he might be able to play out the pit crew, but he's missing a little bit of that second piece of the puzzle, right? You not only need to find the rat, you need to find the coal that kind of puts it all together, generating the gold, readying the pit crew, and then sending them around the board. And I would only imagine he's also playing Boots of Swiftness. I didn't really catch exactly every card in the deck, but you're not running the pit crew without that picture perfect 1 2 3 combo, the coal, the swiftness, and the pit crew at that. So let's see what he hits off this stack deck. It doesn't look like they're showing just yet, but I'm imagining there has to be something good to pick up for Spessy.
Yeah, there's obviously a lot of cards that you want to see, but you're right, he doesn't have any of those combo pieces in hand. So when it comes to like looking for stuff, if you see like 2 or 3 of your combo pieces in that stack deck, you are not very happy about it because obviously 2 of them are getting bottomed. So it's kind of up to you. But we do see one piece, the Cull, the Rebuke, and the Edge of Night. Was that as well?
I believe so, yeah. And does decide to pick up. So leaving the coal at the bottom of the deck, he's saying, what is the call good for if I don't even have the pit crew to start things off? Might just be dropping something like the... Oh, he has double Ezreal. That doesn't feel too bad. So he's doing a bit of the both. He's doing a bit of the miracle package we've seen with the likes of the Ezreal decks. And then he's also doing the pit crew strategy just to get in and get out to play around Dravens. So perhaps he kind of found himself versing a lot of Dravens and really benefited from that get in, get out strategy as we saw before. But does get the Prodigy online. Let's see what he goes and heads and pitch. He pitches the second one and he draws 2. Is he going to be fortunate enough to draw anything? It looks like another drop border and a seal. So he's still missing that one key piece. There is nowhere to be found the pit crew. Where is he hiding?
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, it's probably going to be all 3 of them somewhere near the bottom of the deck. That's how I usually feel when this happens. Yeah, like he's now, he's got the Ezreal online, he's got the seal, so he can now just like cycle through his deck using cold shots and stacked decks. Drop border can come out of nowhere and sort of like come online very, very quickly with a second gear generation, which obviously, this has a lot of. I just see the cool shot, picked up the coal and the rat as well in both hands.
Nice.
So he does have the pit rookie in his hand now, and obviously like, yeah, you want the coal because you want the kind of gold generation automatically. But as long as you've got some gear in hand, the pit crew does what the pit crew does. And it can become online very, very quickly. And we do see like this sort of solitaire gameplay coming from the purple as we've been used to on this set, where it's kind of like, my turn's going to be 5 minutes, your turn's going to be 30 seconds, and then we'll just do that for the rest of the game.
Yeah, it's quite interesting to see. A lot of people online have been complaining about it, actually, but it kind of just is what it is. I think it does get better with time. As Randy pointed out, we are just technically 1 week into the Spiritforged meta, so a lot of players are still learning it. A lot of the players here in Day 2, though, have been practicing Spiritforged for quite some time, so I think it's going to be a teeny bit different here at the end of these Swiss rounds. But, trying to extrapolate a little bit further out, I think one card that obviously poses a problem to Teemo, but obviously poses a problem to a lot of decks in the current meta, will be the Fervent, especially if he has a whole lot of combat tricks in hand. What does Teemo really have? Because I don't think he has things like Frigid Touch, maybe a teeny bit of a Stupefy, but how is he realistically going to take down a Fervent if you have to deal with Defiant Dance, Discipline, On Guard? All those buffs are going to be +3 on the Fervent. And I don't have a way I'm thinking about right now. Yes, you could get in, get out, but at one point, if Irelia makes her stand, how is Teemo dealing with that? I guess Rebuke is the only thing that comes to mind. What about you, BMU? How does he deal with that one MVP card?
Yeah, you kind of have to keep bouncing it back, which is kind of, what purple decks are good at. You mentioned the Rebuke. I think that's probably the perfect answer to most Aurelia situations. Like hidden cards, you're gonna have to really play on your own unit. So you got to hope they're like fight or flights and things like that. It does give the Aurelia like some problems to deal with all the hidden cards that Teemo is capable of. But at the end of the day, like if you've got 10 runes, Deflect, Guardian Angel, Zhonya's, Defiant Dance, like there's not much you're afraid of.
Yeah, there's really not. That's what makes this deck so incredibly hard to deal with, and why we're most likely seeing it as the second most the highest, or not the highest, but second most deck representation in the day 2 meta share. And Spessy taking his time saying, how am I gonna have to prepare for the Fervent to push on in? I have the card shop already established. I have a hidden card, which is most likely either Edge of Night or the Teemo Easy that we actually, there's one in the hand, so I couldn't tell you, right? Teemo is notorious for having way too many hidden cards. Of course, it is beneficial for him, indeed. So I don't blame him, but we're going to see now. Maybe it is something like it is. We saw a glimpse of it.
Edge of Night, yeah, we saw it flash up. Yeah, Edge of Night there. That kind of makes sense as well, given, giving the card shop a little bit of a boost in might. But we see how big Aurelia can get, especially like on the Dreaming Tree, where every buff spell, or the first buff spell, is also, gives it +1 and lets you draw a card, replaces itself. Like Dreaming Tree and Aurelia is like strawberries and cream at Wimbledon for me.
Right?
It's a perfect combination.
It feels that way many times, and it looks like, especially considering dropping the drop border, it will enter ready thanks to, wait a second, where's his other gear? Oh, the equipment.
Yes, the equipment, Edge of Night. Yes.
So doesn't it ready?
The hiding of the gear behind cards, like sometimes you kind of just miss that it's a gear and not, some sort of buff. But it's definitely 2 gear there. So we see the drop border and the Ezreal swinging. I'm guessing he's playing against like a Defiant Dance situation or a fight or flight or something like that. So he definitely wants this battlefield. He wants to candle it. He wants to have a look at what's going on. He's still looking for answers. The advantage I think Specimen has is he's going to play a lot into Aurelia decks. I don't think Aurelia is going to play a lot into Teemo.
Right. I can't remember. We'll look at the numbers one more time. I don't think there's a handful of Teemos that made their way in advance into that day 2, of course, but here is one of them that's doing phenomenal so far, and he does have the point lead, but I think it's time for the Aurelia champion to come out to play, and if he has one of those 3 boots of swiftness in the deck, he should be able to more easily conquer by just going one over to the other battlefield. And now one of them is completely open, so you should at the minimum get up to 3 points on the Dreaming Tree, and if you do have the boots of swiftness, you can utilize that legend ability to proc up and go ready and then gank on over. And at that point, I think you have 1 for turn, 1 for choosing, so you go up to 7, and drop border and Ezreal alone are just 7 might. And I don't think we saw any kind of combat tricks from Teemo. Like I said before, even if you do, you have to pay a deflect cost for every single time you choose Aurelia. It's such a powerful card and such a nuisance to deal with. I think it honestly poses the biggest threat, not only for Teemo, but for a lot of decks, like we said before.
Yeah, it's one of those things, like the main hidden card Teemo can use to his advantage here is the GG Easy Teemo. It's a reveal +4 might, doesn't need to pay deflect. But Irelia is one of those decks that can just be like, oh, hey, yeah, it's 5 might, it's sitting at my base. Oh, no, it's cleared that battlefield. Oh, no, it's 12 might, and it's in my face again. It's one of those decks that just wander around. As I said, the advantage Specimen's got is he has the advantage of the matchup knowledge. But then again, these 2 players, they're 8 and 1. I doubt they're bad players that can't adapt to a deck they haven't seen before.
Yeah, these are the best of the best remaining. So Irelia does go for that straightforward conquer on Dreaming Tree, and Lessie was coming down. It almost looks like the boots swiftness from this angle. I would only imagine. There it goes.
Yep.
I mean, he had to have 1 enhanced since he's running all 3. I'm just running 1 when I run Aurelia decks. I might have to reconsider running more because that card is simply incredible, especially when we're talking about these MVP decks. On top of it, keeping your Aurelia together with the Guardian Angel, you can never truly go wrong. It does look like he goes for the double rune usage, or double recycle, 1 for the legend, 1 for the attachment, and is looking at swinging on over. I do agree. I do think that is going to be the GG Easy Teemo. So what is the collective might total? I believe it's going to be holding down for 11.
11, yeah. And this Aurelia is swinging in at 7 +2 +2. for the gear. Oh, +1/+2. So it's going to be 10 total. So the Irelia still needs some little work to do, but we know he's got a Defiant Dance in hand, and that just kind of kills everything the Teemo wants to do.
Yeah, it really does. It makes it so easy to conquer so many times. The only thing that would benefit Spessy in this position, it might just have to be the Rebuke. I know we put at least one of them to the bottom of the deck. If he doesn't have a Rebuke, a Fight or Flight is decent. Actually, a Fight or Flight could do it here, but you're kind of just saving it for another turn. I mean, that could be the space he needs, though, because he would hold up to 5. He could conquer with Card Chop up to 6. And then you're kind of spreading that distance apart from the Irelia. But Irelia looking to get way too big here. Going up to, I believe, what is that? 13 total might. So should have enough currently.
Yeah, Switcheroo is also a great option here. A Rebuke is also a great option. It's just going to cost so much power. We do see the Switcheroo. So that's going to transfer the 13 might from the Irelia. He's going to have to pay 2 plus a deflect, so 3 power total. And it looks like he's swapping. Oh, the not so fast. Oh,
right.
No.
A devastating card every single time you have a game plan in mind. The not so fast completely flipping the script and sending every single unit into the trash. And this is where things get very dicey for the Teemo player. You just conquered both battlefields. You just eliminated pretty much the whole setup Teemo has worked for this entire game number 1. And you still have 2 runes to work with. I'm wondering what he has in hand. Does he have a way of perhaps protecting? Okay, he actually is out of combat tricks, BMU. There's a bit of a wiggle room for Teemo if he's able to get over this Irelia.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I can think of is like a Watcher to kind of run in and mess with the Irelia, but then it's just going to pop back with a Guardian Angel, and it's just going to keep coming back. Like, it's like a bad smell in a small room. Like, Irelia just does not go away.
Right, yeah, she's just a stinky legend or stinky champion that doesn't want to give any kind of space, but especially trying to think the best he can. I think a Watcher would be phenomenal, but it doesn't truly, as you mentioned, really take care of the true problem with that Guardian Angel. But let's see, it's still Aurelia's turn, funny enough, so brings out the Zhonya's Hourglass to make matters worse. You have to kill her not once, not twice, but 3 times over. I don't think that Irelia Fervent is going anywhere this game number 1.
No, the Immortal Irelia MVP is so sticky, so hard to remove. Like, Teemo isn't out here, but this is exactly where the Irelia wants to be. Like, he wants to be stuck on a battlefield, lots of gear, lots of ways to bring the Irelia back. Yes, he's down to 4 runes. That's probably like the biggest deal to the Teemo player. And we saw that he's out of combat tricks, but Specimen doesn't know that. We've got the beauty of seeing his hand. Specimen's got to assume there's what's it called? The buff 2 green spell, draw 1,
on guard,
discipline. That's it. Yeah, discipline. You've got on guard. You've got defiant dances. There's so many things that can just make that Irelia go from what is right now 7 might to 10, 12, 14 might quite easily.
Yeah, honestly, the only saving grace, as we said before, and it looks like chat bringing to our attention, he has to find the Rebuke somewhere. You would obviously love to just pay that deflect cost because this is the opportunity to do so. You rarely find Irelia players completely tapped out on your turn, so you want to take full advantage of that, but I just don't think the Teemo player has a Rebuke currently in hand.
I think I saw him bottom 2.
Draws 2. I saw a Pit Pocket. I saw Overzealous Fan. I did not see a Rebuke, BMU, so I think this Irelia might be sticking around to see another day, but the call shop could be changing things around. He's digging one more time, looking at 2 more cards. That's a Cole. That's a stacked deck. You might as well
take the stacked deck.
Yeah, might as well.
I'm sure I've seen him bottom 2 Rebukes.
I think, right?
He was looking for other combo pieces, and I think he might be regretting that now. Nocturne off the top. We do see the Watcher. Gets to play the Nocturne for free as well, which is really, really nice. Is it 1 power of any color, or does it have to be a purple power?
Any color, yeah.
Oh, okay, that's fine. Yeah, so he does get a little bit more might on board, but yeah, I think he's looking for a Rebuke, and I'm sure I've seen him bottom 2 of them this game. So it's going to be a bit rough. We do finally see the Rat coming down, so he's going to be able to gain some point tempo, but he needs to figure out how to get that Irelia off that battlefield. So yeah, Cole gets equipped to the rat, which readies it, or playing the Cole. Swings in, conquers the battlefield, generates a gold, which obviously readies the pit crew, and then the pit crew can move back to safety. So the deck is finally doing what he wants it to do, but he's still got the problem of the big Irelia.
Yeah, and that is a huge problem at that. And obviously, just for those that are a bit unfamiliar to the Irelia strategy, a lot of the things why Guardian Angel and why Zhonya's Hourglass is so effective is because on your turn, whenever you invest some combat tricks or buff increase, and whoa, production team, what are we doing? We're bouncing around. It looks like a Kaiser versus a... Okay, I guess we got a sneak preview.
I think we might be getting Kaiser versus Azir next game.
Yeah, I don't know what tells us that, but we have a hunch. We have a slight little hunch that we might be getting that game after this one.
Can you bet on this through Polymarket? Because I think I might win some money.
right, guys. Place your bets now. But Irelia does hop on over. But what I was getting at is that those safety nets of the Zhonya's Hourglass and the GA, when you invest things like Discipline, when you invest things like On Guard or the Defiant Dance, they don't go away until the end of the turn. So it allows Irelia to do some interesting play lines where you push in, you trade for a whole lot of good units, the Guardian Angel procs, and then you can ready the Irelia with another combat trick and send it in forward, keeping all the investment you did previously on that same turn, making sure you almost like double dip in might. You already swung in for what, 10, 12 might, and now you're swinging in one more time for the exact same 10 to 12 might again. So this is what makes the Irelia decks very, very powerful, and is probably likely why we're catching her at the higher seed or at the higher tables, and giving a huge problem or a headache for Teemo to think about. But it is his turn now, as Irelia did conquer 2 and now has 2 runes at the ready for the Irelia players, so has some kind of more protection. But as we saw from the previous turn, doesn't actually have that protection unless he drew at least one card better.
Yeah, I imagine the 2-up is like either bluffing the not so fast or he has the not so fast. So any sort of spell interaction from the Teemo might be a little bit odd. And right now we see the Irelia on 6 points. So unless he can get rid of it this turn and stop it scoring next turn, it's going to be very difficult for this Teemo to pick up. Just a little bit too late with the tempo. He does have a lot of might in the battlefields. And, you know, Irelia doesn't have a lot of runes up for combat stuff. Like, he has maybe 1 Discipline, 1 On Guard, you know, maximum, 1 Defiant Dance. Defiant Dance is devastating. But now is the time. Teemo has to do something now. And we've seen his hand. He doesn't have a lot of interaction after this. It's mainly units.
Yeah, and with only 6 runes, you can't even develop out a Watcher at that. So it has to do it the good old-fashioned way, just send in a whole lot of might. But you're never really, truly taking care of the Irelia with the GA, with the Zhonya's Hourglass at that. So, oh man, this is a tricky position. I would hope he goes for Pit Crew on the Candlelight Sanctum, looks at the top 2 cards. But how are you drawing if he doesn't have anything like a stacked deck currently? He can't even benefit from knowing that knowledge. So this is tough. I could totally see why Speci's taking his time, because this could very well be the final moments of this game number 1. So does send the Pit Crew. It's looking at the top 2 cards most likely soon. And let's see what he has in hand, because I don't think he played the stack deck. And funny enough, two cards that will find him more cards, but he can only pick one of them. Unless because stack deck only picks up 1 card, so probably gonna send 1 to the bottom, and that's gonna be the stack deck, it looks like.
Yeah, now he has to figure out a way of drawing a card so he can get into the called shot, so he can look for an answer. I assume that's his game plan, or maybe he's just looking for the Nocturne to add some might. But yeah, we're on 6 points versus an Irelia who's also on 6 points. It's a tough uphill battle, and you can see Specimen rubbing his forehead there, trying to figure out this problem that lies in front of him. If anyone can do it, it's a Teemo going 8-1 wearing a Teemo cap.
Right.
That's my theory.
Let's see, putting his thinking cap on, or had it on the whole time. These pickpockets are decently good. You're able to pick off this GA. You're able to take care of the Zonya's Hourglass. Is that gonna be enough though, is the question, because let's do the math here. Irelia's at 4, the GA's up to 5, the Boots of Swiftness takes it up to 7 total might. Nocturne's of 4, Ezreal matches that at 7, and then Card Shop cleans up the rest. So you do have raw might to take care of the battlefield. So if you take the GA, you take the Zonya's Hourglass, I believe you're able to effectively take down Irelia Fairvent. So there could be a window of opportunity for Speci. Perhaps we were counting him out, but I think he has the cards in hand to do so. But we do see, I think chat might have pointed out, a not so fast does target, or I should say the other way around, a pickpocket does target a friendly gear, which activates a not so fast, or I should say a not so fast can counter the pit. No, it's not spells.
I thought it was, is it spells and abilities that target gear, or is it just spells that target gear and units?
Oh, it spells and abilities that target your units or your friendly gear. So you can counter a pickpocket.
Oh, one cost or less. Yeah, so it can only target the GA, right?
Oh, I don't get to see too much pickpocket, so I guess it is 1 cost or less. I thought it was just a gear in general.
No. So it's yeah, you can take the GA off it, which eliminates one problem. But then you've got another problem.
Right. I was giving too much credit to Speci, because every time I see a pickpocket, he just goes ahead and eliminates a gear. I never actually read the card text there. I should probably play pickpocket more often, but he's trying to do what he can. He has to go ahead and take the Irelia off, but without any gear destruction, you're not really doing too much, if I'm being honest. I think this is all locked in. I believe Irelia should be walking away with a game 1 victory, but let's see how it plays out regardless.
Oh, Guardian Angel cost 2. You're absolutely right. My bad. Yeah, so pickpocket is just a relevant card right now, unless he wants to kill his own gear for whatever reason. But yeah, so we're seeing the battle here. Like, yeah, he's gonna take the battlefield. He's gonna go up to 7, but then how do you stop this Irelia just swinging back at you next turn? Like, I don't think there's much you can do.
Yeah, he is holding up 2 runes. That could be that monster's rebuke bluff, but we do know, or I honestly didn't see it, but chat let us know there could very well be another not so fast, and that should be enough to counter the rebuke. So I think Irelia in an excellent position to close things out as we keep going back to Ezreal, considering being played out to a battlefield to just try to defend for dear life. But we are talking about an Irelia that gets probably the tallest, maybe second to tallest if you're considering Ornn, but Ornn is nowhere to be found in the Spiritforged meta, as not a single Ornn moved on into day 2. I thought Ornn had something going for him, but it looks perhaps not.
Yeah, I mean, when Ornn got announced, we were like, oh, it's like Kaiser's ability for gear. Gear's really strong. Ornn will be really good. And it just never appeared. The only time I've seen Ornn's being played is the blue champion Ornn slot, you know, with the deflect 2. That's played in quite a lot of decks. It's quite a nice little, you know, counter to, you know, the Dravens and the Aurelias that you see. But Ornn as a legend just is not there. You know, and it's just such a shame, because it's such a cool legend idea. You know, just really make one really big unit and, you know, hope and pray that they can't take you off of it. But yeah, we do see the Irelia now moving in, easily eliminating the rat. And with those boots of swiftness and with the Irelia legend, as long as he's got something that chooses Irelia, he is going to be able to move over and probably take that second battlefield. At the moment, we do see, what, 5, 9, 12 might there? So Aurelia's got a little bit to go, but it's not impossible to do. And obviously with the Stellarcorn gets to see another card as well.
Oh, and the perfect card off the top, a buff spell, that discipline coming off. So he does have a way to enable that Irelia legend and proc up. So Guardian Angel does attach, you ready it. So that's effectively +2 might. And then the discipline will be +3. So where does that put the Irelia? That's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 to 12, but a GA will be saving you. And I think that's a worthwhile trade, because you're going to take down virtually every single unit, or actually you do take down every single unit, but the Dreaming Tree actually draws 2, so a very good odds of drawing something else that's going to be allowing this Irelia to get over the hill, over these might. And let's see what he picks up with the double draw from Discipline. At the minimum, at least the On Guard or Defiant Dance would completely close things out here. But it doesn't matter. I think it's done.
Yeah, it is. It was absolutely done. The other thing as well is the sequencing on the Aurelia's side. Like, they picked up the Candlelight Sanctum first, so they could stack their deck at the top there. They knew exactly what they wanted to see, and they were able to pick those cards up. So obviously he must have placed the Discipline back on top, knowing that he'd draw that with a Stellarcorn. And yeah, really, really well played.
The traditional combat tricks, right? The On Guard, the Discipline, the 3 Defiant Dances, the 2 Ride the Winds. So yeah, he has like everything you would need to succeed as an Irelia player. And they didn't show us the Teemo list. Perhaps they're still going to catch a bit of the sideboard, because I want to see, is there any kind of adjustments? Okay, an additional switcheroo, a factory recall is okay.
Hard bargains and factory recalls definitely going to help. Fight or flight, probably not as useful. Switcheroo, very expensive, but potentially useful. So there's possibly 4 or 5 cards that the specimen can put into his main deck, but bottoming those rebukes, I thought I saw 2 rebukes go to the bottom, and he only runs 2 in the main by the looks of it. Like, I don't know. Rebuke just seems like one of those cards that's always going to be useful, and I just can't get rid of them during Aurelias. Yes, I know it's expensive to get rid of the Aurelia, but when it's got 2 GAs and a Zhonya's attached to it, how else do you get rid of it?
Yeah, it's
Rebuke,
a necessary
right? It's the only
evil, right? You have to do what you have to do. Something to point out, though, that was rather interesting from that Teemo's list. He's running Arena's Greatest and Nexus of Power as these potential next battlefield selections. So I'm curious, he will be on the play leaning more towards that Arena's Greatest. So perhaps when he draws the pit crew get in, get out strategy, it could be beneficial to get that Arena's Greatest online, because Irelia is a bit of a setup, slow and steady wins the race type deck, and it will be Arena's Greatest and the Sunken Temple to start things off in this game number 2. Can Spessy and his Teemo and the Teemo hat bring us to that notorious game number 3, or is Irelia too much of a powerhouse these days in Spiritforged? And looking a little bit better start. He does have the pit crew in hand, but plays out the Teemo EZ, a strong flex like he did in game number 1. It looks like.
Yeah, and I think Spessy there just really specifying that the Arena's Greatest. Get your point. I've got mine. Get your point. Don't miss the trigger, because we will get told off. So he's really sort of trying there. But we did see opening hand. He did have the Rebuke. He did have the pit crew. Oh, the sneaky deckhand straight away shuts down the Teemo. He can still conquer Sunken, of course. And if he draws the Cull off the top deck, it might just be the tempo that the Teemo needs. And fight or flight, stack deck, pit crew. Okay, so he can bring the pit crew online with the seal, and then possibly look for a Cull with the stack deck as well. So there's a few options he can sort of generate here. Looks like the Irelia is tapped out. Am I right? Or it would be tapped out,
it's
right? Because it uses free rinse and sneaky. Yeah. So math is on the side of the Teemo here. If he can slow the Irelia down, it's definitely good for him. As you said, plus it's a really slow deck to start. Like generally you want like 1 or 2 pieces of gear before you play the Irelia down, just to keep it safe. But it does look like he is going for what I thought he would, which is a seal, which activates the pit crew. Pit crew is able to take the battlefield and go up to 3 points on turn number 2 for the Teemo, I'd imagine.
It would be a great line, because Sneaky Deckhand only has 2 might. Irelia tapped out, as we don't often see her tapped out, but you might as well take advantage while you can. Send in the pit crew, taking out the Sneaky Deckhand as we're seeing right now. And Irelia can't really ready herself, because you're only going to have 5 runes. You could only play a Fervent. The only thing I can see, if you really want to take care of one of these units, it would have to be like a Stellarcorn Herder and then an On Guard and a Defiant Dance, but that's a bit too much of an ambitious play to do as early as that second turn. And rounding out with a stacked deck, so looking at better cards potentially for the following turn. I liked Teemo's position starting things off, but as we said before, Irelia doesn't have a fantastic start. But as it approaches the mid to late game, you see why Irelia is one of the top dogs to not be messed with around in Spiritforged cores. I will say 2 good cards that kind of in a way counter Irelia. The Rebukes he was desperately looking for in game number 1, and then the Factory Recall, when you least expect it, you pick off, or you don't technically put it to the trash, but you put it back in hand, but you can counter the GAs, and then the Irelia actually dies instead of getting saved by the GAs. So the Factory Recall could be a key card in this matchup.
Yeah, anything that sort of disrupts the Aurelia's game plan is always going to be quite nice. We see the Stellarcorn Herder coming down, and we do see the On Guard as well. This is the exact play you mentioned. I thought it was complete overkill. Like, you're investing so much for the sake of, drawing a card and scoring a point. It seems like a really, really big investment, but it seems like the Aurelia player said, you know what, that's a cool investment. I'm going to try that.
Yeah, you can't even benefit from the Sunken Temple, but at the minimum, just from the move, you will be getting the +1 draw cores. More importantly, you're denying more points because Bessie's running Arena's Greatest for a reason, right? He wants to just go pedal the metal, unrelentingly, conquer after conquer. So you're trying to slow down that strategy just a tad little bit. On top of it, I don't think Teemo himself has too much accelerated pressure unless he does end up drawing into the boots of swiftness that will enable the pit crew to move on forward. But I guess he's feeling good with that hidden card at that Sunken Temple. It has to most likely be something like a fight or flight. Even if you
it
don't
was a
push
fight or
back
flight.
your
Yeah.
opponent's card, you can push back your own card to draw one, which is most likely the line of play he's considering.
Yeah, I would imagine that's exactly right. It was a fight or flight. We did see it kind of get flashed as we move. The cull in the hand. That's what you want to see. So now the Teemo player is able to get his battle plan on. And if he can keep just activating the pit crew with gear as well, it's going to be a real interesting situation because we do see the Aurelia going down to 3 runes, fully tapped out. And if there's one thing I want to see if I'm playing against an Irelia is no active runes. That is the dream.
And it is a similar situation as they found themselves in the previous turn, right? They started the turn off with 3 runes, or they ended the turn, I should say, with 3 runes. So they only will have 5 runes. So again, they can't really establish out their fervent to ready in and push on forward on that next turn. So feeling rather comfortable about that. Goes for the Azir Prodigy on top of the battlefield. So perhaps considering bringing back that pit crew, playing the call, readying the pit crew, and
why would you ditch the rebuke? That just hurts my soul. Like, just keep the rebuke. Just get rid of anything else. Like, when I know Aurelia coming online is not as much of a risk this game because of the tempo situation, but my God, like, you were looking for the rebuke for about 4 turns last game. Like, just keep the rebuke, my friend, please. Like, just do yourself that favor. Obviously, the pit crew is going to move in. It's probably going to capture the battlefield, as you said. Like, there's very rarely you want to leave a Stellarcorn there. You'd rather fight or flight and push the Stellarcorn back and take the free draw. But you are giving that pit crew 3 points and it's safety as well. So there's a decision to be made here. It's not as simple as we thought it was, but this game is definitely leaning Teemo. This is a really, really good spot to be in.
I love it. Off to the races what Teemo's having in store for us, and I want to see the remaining of the hand. If you have the audacity to pitch the rebuke that you were so desperately looking for in that initial game 1, what do you have in hand? They better be the best cards in your deck because you really need a rebuke. Perhaps he's just anticipating another not so fast. It's a factory recall, a seal, and then I can't make out that last card. I think you could have pitched.
I didn't quite catch it.
I don't know. I would have rather kept the rebuke over the factory recall, but both are great. But we do see the play line as we expected, right? The fight or flight on the Stellarcorn, picking up another card at that, keeping it safe. But as you mentioned, the pit crew will go ahead and get a gold online, ready the pit crew, move back to safety of the base. Or do you feel confident that you could defend? I am never confident. The only thing that gives me a bit of confidence is that the Irelia can't push in as we keep going back to, because he's only at 5 runes, which is why that investment last turn, granted, you did pick up 2 cards, but you're setting yourself up to a slow pick up, a slow tempo game, right? Because you don't have anything to really do this turn. Let's see though, at the minimum you could kind of develop out the GA for a potential fervent to finally come out the next turn. But it feels like so much turns are passing. Teemo continues to score, and he will be able to most likely get up to 6, perhaps even 7 points the next turn, and that's danger zone territory for Aurelia.
Yeah, I mean, you don't feel too bad with the hand like Aurelia had. He had the GA, he had 2 Defiant Dances and the Fight or Flight. Like, that's a pretty good hand. And you don't feel too bad about the Stellarcorn Herder being the MVP, because obviously every time it moves, You get to draw some cards. It's got a decent base might of 3, so it's not, it's not too vulnerable, especially with some Defiant Dances. You can swing like 4 might in your favor. So it's not the worst card to have as your MVP. Obviously, you want the Irelia. That's where the power comes from this deck. But it's not as bad of a situation as, you might think if you don't play Irelia decks. It's not as bad as it can be. But right now, Teemo just seems to be in such a dominant position. Factory Recall, we do see it coming down on the GA. So yeah, that has to move back to your hand now. And all of a sudden, your Stellarcorn is very vulnerable. Look at the face on Krau's or Crow's. He is not happy about that. Big sigh from him.
Oh yeah, not a happy camper. Thankfully for him, he does have a bit of might increases in the hands of something like an On Guard. I believe that's what I saw in hand. So should have enough might to still continue on to push, but we have to be very considerate of that hidden card. Most likely, I mean, the GG Easy Teemo already got taken care of. What else can be hiding or lurking behind the card? I don't remember any other hidden cards. Is this something as straightforward as a switcheroo, perhaps? Because this will turn everything around.
Nice. Yeah, switcheroo could be very nice. It could be just a simple fight or flight. We'll find out. And it is, yeah, fight or flight. Yeah, I'll just bring my Ezreal home. I'll keep him nice and safe. The only thing you can obviously defy and not so fast, but do you want to invest more runes into just killing an Ezreal? Probably not.
I mean, Ezreal is one of the better units, enables the whole Call of the Week look through your deck strategy, of course, but I don't think he had any counter capabilities that turn. Has, I believe, a Guardian Angel, and then I didn't get to catch the rest of his hand.
We'll see Defiant Dances, a fight or flight, and something else from memory. Yeah. So he does have all the options. He just hasn't been able to get Irelia online, and he keeps having to sack runes and de-ramp himself just to stay, in somewhat of a point tempo situation. So 2 Defiant Dances. That looks like a not so fast as well. So he does have a really, really good hand. He just doesn't have the board to support it.
Right. Yeah, or the runes as he de-ramped himself one more time. Irelia can't get over 5 runes. I've never seen Irelia so antsy to not get into that later game rune economy, right? How are you going to be sticking around where you could only play out your fervent, residing completely on that Stellarcorn Herder? It's a great unit, but it's really not going to be able to close things out the same way as we saw in that game number 1. So I am a bit nervous for this Irelia player, and I am definitely excited for Teemo because he's looking to be in a great position going forward. The rat just continues to get gold after gold, bring him back to base, and let's see, can he try to deal with the Stellarcorn, because there is no GA, so that's just little 3 might trying to bait out the hidden card. And I'm anticipating the similar play as we saw before, fight or flight, just to protect your Stellarcorn and pick up another card, but he has another thing in mind. It will be a Defiant Dance getting played out. And is there anything Teemo can do about this is the question.
I don't think there is, and I don't think he's too sad about trading a Defiant Dance and another rune for a pit crew that stops me getting a single point. He's on 6 points. He doesn't have to do anything too clever. Aurelia's on 2 runes. This is a point where it gets silly. What do you do next turn with 4 runes and a Stellarcorn Herder on board when your opponent is on 6 points? He's going to try something. So he's switcherooing. Okay, he doesn't have to runes for not so fast. So he's going to have to fight or flight. He's going to have to fight or flight and draw the card. Yeah, look, he's checking the switcheroo. Yes, it does exactly what Specimen says it does. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, luckily, it looks like Irelia does indeed have the fight or flight, and electing to push back the pit crew this time. I guess that's a bit of a... I mean, you switch. Wait a second.
Yeah, you switch over and he pushes back with the fight or flight. That's absolutely fine. But he reacted to this switcheroo with the fight or flight, so the switcheroo doesn't activate because it's at a battlefield, as far as I know. If I'm remembering that card correctly. So the switcheroo doesn't actually activate, so he can't just swinging back with the airs to take it.
Right, I was about to say if the switcheroo actually resolve and then is the fight or flight, it's a bit dicey because then the Ezreal could just come in swinging against that 3-might Stellarcorn. So it makes complete sense as you pointed out here with the reaction to the switcheroo, pushing it back. Stellarcorn does hold. So surprising enough, despite having so low rune economy, despite having a single unit this entire game, he's not that far behind, holding up to 5 points. I mean, as you said before, the best he could maybe do this turn is develop out a GA and then pass the turn. And this is that one window that Spessy needs because he's at 6 points. How are you stopping 2 pit crews and an Ezreal from conquering both battlefields this turn? You have 2 fighter flights already in the trash. I see a great card that just got picked up from the Stellarcorn. That will be a charm. But a charm into the base doesn't do anything for you. So, this is tricky. I think Irelia might not win this.
He moved the Stellarcorn Herder to obviously draw, and then he's using a GA to activate the Stellarcorn Hoarder to move to draw. But now you've got no runes, and you got 2 runes up, which is a not so fast or something like that. But what do you do here? Do you charm a 3-might unit in to clear like another body, and then you leave yourself with absolutely no options? Perfect math for Specimen. This is a point wise tells one story. Looking at the board tells a completely different one.
Oh yeah, it almost seems like Irelia's rather close, but in actuality, she's not really close whatsoever, especially in a controlling position. I mean, it all comes down to how Irelia's been maneuvering her rune pool, right? They've been so power invested every single turn where they haven't even had a turn to even play out their chosen champion. And if you're playing an Irelia deck and you never play your MVP, your true MVP, is there really a way of getting the victory with that? I mean, perhaps there is. You don't always need her, but she is a huge key to the puzzle for your path to victory in a lot of games.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Like, as I said at the start, it doesn't feel like the worst situation to have Stellarcorn as your MVP moving about doing things because you're drawing cards. But yeah, the sheer might value of the Irelia tells a story, and Crow's Face tells another story.
Oh yeah.
He is frustrated at this game. Teemo playing quite perfectly. But the interesting thing is, obviously, these 2 players are really taking their time. I think I saw like 30 minutes on the round.
Oh, 12 minutes,
12
actually.
minutes. Yeah, and they're only gonna they're gonna go to the 3rd round, so this could potentially end in a draw, which I think is not good if you want to make top 8.
Yeah, definitely not good. X11 might have to be the minimum, and you still have 3 more rounds after this. And we see the card he was considering, that Factor Recall to take down the GA, but now it's time to do your final stand, your final push. Send one of your pit crews over to the arena's greatest, most likely, then ready it, come back. If you have another gear, which I think we saw the hand, he doesn't have another gear, so perhaps the playline I'm thinking might not be too beneficial, but you only have 2 3-might units, and the stack deck getting defined.
Deck. I honestly think this is really bad for the Teemo player. Like, he's gonna win this game, and he's gonna go into game 3 going 2nd versus an Irelia, which we know can score points very quickly, with like 8 minutes left on the round. And like, I don't think the Irelia wants that either. Like, this top 8 top cut only is really hard to deal with as players. Like, you have to work really hard to win your games quickly.
It really is, right? Because
it's awkward.
Is completely untimed, as you're hinting at. So let's see if the Factory Recall can do something here. Define the stack deck instead of the Factory Recall will end up biting him. And let's see, I believe Teemo should be able to close things out, but as you're getting at, I don't think there's a world where this Teemo player is able to close things out in a game 3 with just 10 minutes remaining. You do have the 3 additional turns overtime, but Irelia is a late game deck. She's not going to be able to end things in that time limit, so this is tricky. I do think Spessy and Crows might very well end in a tie, unless they play super fast, which I guess can be a bit realistic when we're talking about day 2 players. But Spessy's just taking his time thinking about this current turn. Might not leave a lot of room for the next plays. So
There's
I don't know.
there's one rune up, bro. Just stack the battlefield and wait. Like, I don't think you can actually lose from this position as Teemo with one rune on the side. I know there's a Defiant Dance. I know that can be scary, but my God, you need to end this game and you need to play very quickly. Because
Yeah.
right now, if you go into Irelia going first in overtime or overtime minutes, shall I say, like, there's a good chance you just lose. So I'd want to play as quickly as possible to get as much out of game 3 as I possibly can. But he seems to be just hard stuck on the Mafia, worrying about a Defiant Dance.
Which makes little sense to me, but of course we're not in the same position as these players, so Spessy wants to make sure he's not missing anything. But I love to play what you're saying. If you can't really think about how to get over the Stellarcorn hump, just go ahead and play everything on Arena's Greatest. What in the world is Irelia going to do with 3 total runes? At the best, you have what, a sneaky deckhand that plays to base. Just go ahead and do something where you have to be considerate of the time, unless you're doing this as an intentional way of getting a draw. You don't like your odds against an Irelia being on the play, so you would rather take a draw versus a loss. But I feel like Teemo can do it, right? I mean, he put a good performance in this game too. Perhaps he can get it together one more time with those factory recalls and rebukes in game 3.
Here, and he's going to go down to 0 runes. Like, dude, you need to play quicker. You need to get this out. Like, this Swiss matchup, you need to play quicker than this. The Teemo just spent like 3 minutes working out that he's got 1 rune up and he's going to Defiant Dance him.
Literally.
Like, you know it's coming. You know it's coming. And you still make the worst possible play by sending a naked Ezreal in. Like, if anything, the Teemo is hurting himself here. Like, the chat's going mental. Like, oh, it should be done for like stalling, but he's hurting himself by stalling. It's not the losing player that's stalling; it's the winning one.
I know, it is crazy to see. Usually we'll see it from the player that's behind, but as you mentioned, that is 0 runes for Irelia.
I'm losing my mind here, man.
Unbelievable. I mean, at this point, just go ahead and send your pit crews over to Arena's Greatest and just pray that Irelia doesn't have anything like a... You can't even play a Boots of Swiftness. It is all but over.
No, you can't do anything. You can't. You've read the legend. You know what it does, Specimen.
Teemo is going
He's going to have 2 runes.
crazy.
Just take the battlefield.
He is the most frustrating player we've ever seen, respectfully, of course, but doing things rather interesting, kind of spinning his wheels, turning his head, saying, what can I do here? You realistically only had 1 or 2 options. Finally decides on one of those options, but now you just have 7 minutes remaining for an entire game 3. Crows is upset. He wanted to call the judge. He's saying, like, Teemo, we should have probably moved it on to game number 3. If I was a Irelia player, I would have conceded for Spessy because I have a good chance at winning game 3. But now with little under 7 minutes, there's a very slight chance either of these players are moving on.
He's still not past his turn. He's still not past his turn. Pass your turn. Dude, like...
Oh, BMU, this is intentional. I respect Spessy, but there's no way he's actually thinking this much about this. There's no way.
So does he have a game plan to like win 2 points super quick against the Irelia going first? Like,
yeah.
Is it like there's I think I give him the benefit of the doubt, right? I'm thinking he's saying like, oh hey, I really, really, really want to win this. You know, I want to get the best of Metal Teemo. Maybe that's in the back of his head. But what is supposed to happen here? Like, you play the GA, you attach it, you can move Stellarcorn back, you draw 1. Like, there's a few options here, but he's got 2 runes. Like, nothing can possibly happen here, right?
Yeah, funny enough, he does have a GA, but he can't. I mean, he would have to. Oh no, that's the double green. Actually, no, Irelia can pay a purple, but more so, I would have honestly asked Crows. I would have conceded myself because it looked like Spessy was just taking one too much of his sweet time, and now we will be finding ourselves into a game 3 predicament. Can either of these players get ahead by 2 points? Perhaps this is what Teemo had in mind, right? You know, slow and steady is what Irelia's game plan is. If you're able to get 2 points nice and early in those 3-turn overtimes, perhaps you can come out ahead matchup. And it almost feels to me that it's a decently Kai'Sa favor. But we do have a calm deck that has a lot of decent amount of counter ability as well, like Irelia does. But I can't remember this matchup exactly being played out. But to me, it almost feels like Kai'Sa has the removal. But Azir's a bit of a quicker deck too. So this could be really interesting.
Yeah, so in my sort of like knowledge of this game, and I play a Kaiser, and one of my friends and sort of like sparring partners with Riftbound plays Azir very, very well. Kaiser feels really strong into Azir. Like there's a lot of removal of stuff, but Azir just keeps coming back with more and more and more. And eventually, even though you've got loads of cards in your hand as Kaiser, you run out of steam. Like there's just so many units on the board. Things like call the Desert's call the guards, arise. You know, there's so many options to generate a lot of tokens very fast that it's very hard for the Kaiser to deal with. And I've played this matchup a few times. It could go either way, honestly. Plus, it's a really close matchup.
Right, you do bring up an excellent point. At one point, you end up running out of your removal spells unless you could keep on drawing and keep that card advantage in your favor with things like Progress Day. But at one point, like you mentioned, you're not going to have those falling stars, those singularities, those Hextech rays. And one thing you could always count on Azir is developing more and more Sand Soldiers each and every turn. So I do agree it could be a bit more of an interesting match, as both of these players are X2. They're pretty much on death's door on this day 2 competition. If one more loss, they're effectively eliminated from top 8, but perhaps it could continue on. Azir's just 50% of getting the best of metal card. Perhaps a couple wins will guarantee him the best of metal card, because I seen the Azir one. That one looks awesome. I would love to have an Azir best of metal.
Yeah, I mean, any best of metal, like if you want to keep it, congratulations. Like turn up to your local skirmishes and just intimidate people. But I think most of these players will probably be playing to sell.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
it's a big payday on some of these metal cards, especially like the more desirable legends. Like if you get the best of Ari, like you're buying a house. You know, that's kind of like where you're at with that.
Funding all your regional trips. You can go to Leo,
Exactly.
you can go to Atlanta, you can go to Australia. That is a perfect, you know, that is the picture perfect thing you would want to do as a competitive player. You basically became your own self-funded pro player, because it's tough to be a TCG pro. You know, to make a living from a card game is incredibly tough in 2026. Riftbound is allowing a couple players to do so.
Yeah.
A lot of the top players, once they sell those metal cards, it gives a bit of a nice little, I guess in a way of a safety net in your funds, right? So it does feel good.
Yeah.
But a Torm coming down as we get back into the game and Kaiser gets eliminated. You know, I saw the one of not so fast already picked up for Azir. That is awesome to see, because things like Falling Star won't be able to get rid of a Sand Soldier so easily. So Azir off to a fantastic start, to say the least.
Yeah, I mean, the charm into the Raven Bloom to kind of, you know, oh, hey, I get to draw a Death Grip off the top of my deck when I see it. The thing that's tilted me about this game is, Richard, dude, move your trash. That is not where your trash should be.
It looks like it's on the battlefield. That is indeed rather confusing. But yeah, I don't know. These judges have shown us they don't really mind where these players represent each zone. But the Falling Stars, as we said before, Azir only has a single rune, which could be beneficial to him. He feels like he has no problems letting go of these kill spells. Little does he know, he does have a not so fast for later down the road. But an Ire the Herald and a Brutalizer hit the back line of cores. Let's see if he has any more equipment to try to keep on that Sand Soldier pressure. And we're getting a little bit of wobbles going on in the feature table. I wonder if that's people bumping into the table, or one of these players kind of moving their legs rapidly or something. What is it called? Fidgeting?
Yeah, like it's restless leg. I get it as well. Like I really have to focus on not jiggling my legs, especially when like there's a camera recording the games or anything like that.
Right.
It's just a typical sort of like, I don't know, card gamey player thing, I guess I would say.
Right.
So yeah, it's one of those things. But the Falling Star coming down, sort of clearing the back line. This is what I was kind of talking about before this game. Kaiser has a lot of removal for these small units, but they just keep coming back. That's the thing. I don't like the Azir coming out this early. I think Azir is like that end game win condition, and leaving it vulnerable, like this is exactly what happens. Falling Star now, you've lost one of your win conditions straight away. I understand you want to keep tempo as the Azir, but just throwing a unit away for essentially one power is not a good use of resource there.
You know, I'm right there with you. That was an interesting line of play, because he had an equipment to play. He had a BF sword in play, or in the hand. He could have just paid
up, by the way.
What was that?
Yeah, Azir's one game up, I just noticed as well.
Okay, so perhaps playing a bit more recklessly because he feels like he can win that game 3 if anything comes down to it. But as I was getting at, he could have played the BF Sword, develop out another Sand Soldier for tapping for 1. Instead of playing the Chosen Champion, he felt like it was in a good position to play. But what are you bringing your tokens in? I could only imagine if his intention was to play something like an Arise the next turn and then, Azir goes push 1 and then you bring your tokens on top of it, but that's usually when you have to clear a massive battlefield. Kai'Sa didn't really have anything set up on either battlefield. He has a simple sentry at the current moment, so I'm wondering, I wish we could ask him in person, like, why did he bring out the Azir champion? But perhaps a slight little hiccup going out so far, but the piercing light catching the hands of that Defy, taken down. Sand Soldier stays alive to see another turn. But now let's see if Kai'Sa has perhaps another kill spell, as she already has 2 falling stars, 1 piercing light. There's a lot of resource being extended for Kai'Sa, so if she runs out of it, it could be exactly what Azir needs to kind of make sure he closes out this game number 2.
Yeah, and we see the Bryn here coming down just to kind of build tempo. And again, please put that in your base. My God, man, it is tilting me. But yeah, so we see the Bryn here coming down just to build tempo. So that says to me like the Kai'Sa hasn't got the options in hand that he wants to. He's got nothing to defend against this. He does see the I think the Kai'Sa deck's like 80% spells, and he misses the spell off the top deck Ravenbloom as well. So yeah, a little bit unlucky there. Both players kind of making odd play choices. This seems like a really scrappy game. We see the BF Sword coming down, Weapon Mastered onto the Sand Soldier, Brutalizer and the Eye sitting in the base as well. That is a scary combo. That can add like +3 might and a token when you swing in. Like it's a really nasty combo that kind of like sneaks up on you out of nowhere. The only thing going for the Kai'Sa right now is the rune count. Ravenbloom going to come in again. And so far, Azir is 2 for 2 on the Ravenbloom triggers.
Yeah, right. He's the one benefiting from Kai'Sa's battlefield. Or is it actually Azir's? Because who's running? No, Valmond's Lair does make sense for an Azir deck. You lock in your competition, and then you could kind of take it off with your Sand Soldiers. And you personally don't mind locking in your Sand Soldiers because you have a whole lot more Sand Soldiers where they came from. And that is a whole lot of gear, a whole lot of equipment. If he has something for Arise in the late game, that might just be the most extraordinary Arise we've ever seen, especially if he continues on and develops a bit more units or a bit more equipment at that. Let's take a look if we can see a bit more at his hand as we see. Oh, he does have a wind wall. So not only not so fast, he has the bigger counter spells. So he could even counter literally anything. If it comes down to a thermo beam, he will be able to wind wall that. So that's an interesting main board. Actually, we are in the sideboard territory as this is game 2.
Yeah, there's a 100% chance that the Kai'Sa has thermo beams in the sideboard. It just happens to happen. And now we see a Hextech Ray coming down, which is going to do 3 damage. So right now that token's at what, 5-8 might with the Brutalizer. So it's just enough to get over, and then the Discipline coming down, going to 10 might, gets to draw a card. This is why Azir is terrifying. Like the amount of might that can come out of nowhere. He's saying no. Stupefies the reaction. So that's still not enough to get over.
Yeah, he's still going to be holding tight at 9 total swing in might, and the Bringer and the Sentries is going to be at 6 total might. So I believe he's drawing 1.
He's going to trade because of the Hextech, right?
Oh, with the Hextech Ray, absolutely. So yeah,
he's going to trade with the Hextech, but you're losing a token for a Bryn here and a Watchful on a Ravenbloom. Yeah, like, it's a good trade.
Yeah, and more importantly, you're keeping all your equipment back into the base, so never feels too bad about that. You're removing everything, and I'm right there with you. As you mentioned, that trash has to go anywhere else except the immediate battlefield. It looks like he's holding on with a whole lot of units, but we'll get it together. It looks like he has another equipment most likely going to be developed out this turn. The GA, of course, that does enable the Azir Legend to come online, get the Sand Soldier, and it does have Weapon Master, so picks the more high value equipment, being the BF Sword to attach onto it. Passes on over a bit of a lower scoring game as both of these players just simply have 2 points apiece. But I think things are things will be changing rather shortly, as they hinted it in the commentary cast that team may or may not have something like an Arise. An Arise will be able to score, or not just score, but bring online so many Sand
Please win
Soldiers, and 2 of them will be
Please win
readied.
that. Please win wall that. Do not let the Kaiser draw that many cards. Please win wall that. You've got the runes. It doesn't matter. Win wall it, please. For the love of God, win wall that card. Don't give the Kaiser 4 cards. No.
You know, the only counter I could say to that is, instead of countering the Progress Day, perhaps counter what he draws from the Progress Day, but he's drawing more than just 1 card, so you could counter one of those, but perhaps you can't counter one of the 3rd or the 4th card he ends up drawing. But a good development.
I'm assuming
going
he's keeping
down.
it for the Thermo Beam. I assume that's what he's holding on to, but like, I don't like the Kaiser having that many options. Like, he doesn't have a lot of might on board. You have a lot of gear, but you also don't have a lot of tokens. Yeah, I understand he's probably keeping it for the Thermo Beam because that kind of ends his game, but giving Kaiser like a stack of cards is terrifying.
Yeah, especially as we were saying before, she was starting to run rather low on those kill spells, as they had already used so many in this turn, and that is the 3rd time Kaiser doesn't benefit from the Ravenloot Conservatory.
Yeah, it's the 3rd miss for the Kaiser. He did manage to get the Progress Day from the last trigger, so it's not like the worst case scenario to happen. Come on, you know what Death Shears do, surely. But yeah, so it's not the worst situation to be in. Like, the Kaiser's going to have a lot of options, a lot of runes open. I think he's going to have to start digging for the answer to all this gear. We do see the Arise coming down, so this is where the board gets flooded, and this is where we're going to experience how small these maps really are.
Oh yeah, Arise, the signature spell from Azir, does indeed get played out, and saying Stupefy in a reaction to the Arise just to draw 1 on your opponent's turn. But let's see how much Sand Soldiers will be played out this turn.
1, 2,
I believe it was
3, 4, 5, 6.
Okay, they're not showing us just yet.
Gear, isn't it?
They're showing us Kaiser's hand at the moment, but it should be somewhere in the neighborhood of 6, and 2 of them will be entering ready. So backing up one of them on the Raven Bloom, and I would imagine the other one will be going in for the Conqueror. And he played the Arise. Where are the other Sand Soldiers? They're loading up. They're loading up soon.
Yeah. The judges had to run over to the other table, not holding on to 6 soldiers tokens naturally.
Right.
So there's the 2 ready ones in the base. He's equipping the eyes onto them. There's another 2 to go. And there they are there. So Brutalizer gets equipped. I probably wouldn't weapon master the Brutalizer, you know. Just rather leave it off. But yeah, this is just messy now. There's so many Sand Soldiers everywhere.
Yeah, and I don't blame him. There's just too little space on that board right now, but at least he will be able to conquer. Sends in the Eye of the Herald one, so that's 2 recruit tokens getting generated from the Eye of the Herald. So we'll be defending for a decent amount of might, not the most amount of might. I think the collective total right there is what, 2, 4, 5, 6 total might. So it can be taken out from something like the Noxus Hopeful and the Poro, but then you're leaving that Ravenloot Conservatory completely undefended, or completely not getting dealt with. So you will be able to hold up to 5 total points, and little by little it almost feels like Azir is running away with this game. But perhaps something like a Watch Your Bellows Breath combo from this Azir, or from this Kaiser player, it might just be exactly what she needs to get back control of this board state, because just visually Azir is overwhelmingly all over the board right now.
Yeah, I love the sort of thematics of the Azir gameplay. Like, it's exactly how you'd expect the sort of legend to play, just unwilling, relentless assaults with Sand Soldiers. That's kind of like the lore behind him, basically. We do see the Watcher coming down. She's going to give -3 to absolutely everything. But there are so many triggers. Like, for example, the Death Knell, the Raven Bloom. You're giving like a lot of stuff away just to clear 2 battlefields. And don't get me wrong, you need to start clearing these 2 battlefields. But what happens? The Shears go back to base. The BF Sword goes back to base. They get reattached. He moves back in and he reconquers. This is where Azir can be really powerful. Some options on the Kaiser side. Unchecked power, quite possibly, would be devastating here. We do know he got a wind wall. Thermo Beam is your literal call now. Thermo Beam is the one we do. We do see a Death Grip in reaction, killing the BF Sword Sand Soldier in reaction to the Watcher trigger. So that would retroactively give something 5 might and then reduce it by 3. So there's a bit of math going on here, but it looks like the Plundering Poro is able to take over this battlefield. I doubt he's moving it in if it wasn't able to kill it.
Yeah, I mean,
I think
everything with every Sand Soldier should be at just 1 total might currently. You know, the response to Death Grip was more so for the draw, because if you're responding to Watcher's activation, you do get the plus, I believe, 5 total might, but then the Watcher brings him back down to what, 2 total might? So it didn't really do too much, but you did utilize your runes on your opponent's turn, which is kind of being efficient in itself. So it doesn't feel too bad. Gives up 1 battlefield, but looking to not give up the other one. But I think this Watcher has another thing in mind as the Hextech Ray taking care of one of the recruit tokens. I think the Watcher alone should be able to clear the board now, as there's not too many might in general. Those Irelia Heralds are fantastic equipment, but they actually have 0 might additional to those Sand Soldiers. So what is that, 1, 2, 3 total might holding it down?
Yeah, so you would Hextech, so your Noxus could clear the battlefield on its own. I assume that's what you want to happen.
You know, with the Death Grip, the one Sand Soldier might be at 2, actually. So it might have been 4 to 4, which is why he's sending in the Watcher.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Obviously, with the lack of sort of like visual clarity, and we can't hear the players saying, oh, I give the mic to this one. It's a little bit hard to keep track of sometimes without, dice or counters. But yeah, that must have been the case. So obviously when he Death Gripped, he give it 5, which gives something else plus 5, and then -2, that would have made the Sand Soldier a little bit bigger. So we had to do some math there to kind of keep away. But as you said, plus, like, yeah, you kill the units, but the main power of the units goes back to base. You've essentially got, combat tricks sitting in your base for essentially nothing.
Oh,
yeah. And I think they're arguing about the Death Grip now of where that might was placed.
Yeah, I did see him point at the Eye of the Herald one, so I believe he's correct. That one should have been able to have at least 2 might, but it doesn't really matter. Watcher still conquers that battlefield. Kaiser does go indeed to 3, but as you mentioned, one of the beautiful thing about equipments is that they never truly ever go away unless you have to face the likes of a Thermo Beam, of course, which is why he's holding on for that wind wall until that best moment. But you have to keep those runes available to do so, but still has a couple Sand Soldiers in the back, the couple Sand Soldiers that weren't readied from the Arise. If he has a follow-up Arise, things would go insanely in the favor of Azir. Of course, he's only at 4 points currently, but little by little, conquer after conquer, I feel like Azir is locking this one out, especially because there's just one too many equipments currently on the board.
I was going to say, those Sand Soldiers should all be awakened, right? They were still rested?
No, you're totally right. It's Azir's new turn. He should have them all ready currently.
Yeah, strange. Either way, Raven Bloom trigger. And Kaiser misses again. That's so unlucky. That is so unlucky.
Yeah, who would have expected your own battlefield low-key betraying you? And yeah, he fixed it. The Sand Soldiers do come in ready. I wish we could get a bit of a glimpse on the Azir hand, because the one caveat for Azir is that they really lack the card advantage. After they get rid of most of their cards, they have no way of recurring the cards that they kind of use in this entire game. So Death Grip is a card to get +1 draw, but other than that, I can't really consider anything else. Perhaps something like a Hidden Blade on your own Sand Soldier, but we haven't seen any of that this entire game number 2. So I think Azir, with only a couple cards in hand most likely, and sending in the Sand Soldier with a plethora of equipment backed up, so the Watcher will be hitting the bin. And he does get Conquer up to 6, of course.
Oh, I love this as well. He was just like, he attached the shears, which give the death trigger or death nail trigger draw 1. So he kind of went, oh, okay, which one do you want to kill? Do you want to give me a card, or do you want to kill the 2 might unit? Your choice.
Right.
And of course, he did eventually kill the one to give him the card draw. So yeah, very well played. And this is why Azir can be terrifying when they have that much gear on board, is the fact that they can just keep adding might to stuff out of nowhere. We do see the Desert's Call repeated there. So he's playing 2 more tokens down. They will have Weapon Master when they come in. So he's attaching a BS Sword to 1, and I suspect the Scissors to the other one as well. So again, we're seeing 2 very, very loaded battlefields. The hand from Azir is terrifying, and not so fast, a Wind Wall and a Discipline I spotted. I think that might have been 2 not so fast as well. So yeah, Kaiser's got a battle here. So even if he does manage to have that Thermo Beam in hand, it's gonna be useless.
Yeah, absolutely useless. So much counter potential coming out of the hand of Azir. On top of that, it has a couple combat tricks to keep these Sand Soldiers nice and healthy. I believe the only out for Richard is going to be a follow-up Watcher currently, because you need these Sand Soldiers toned down a little bit. They have one too many equipments on top. Valmon's Lair, a bit of a vulnerability for Azir right now, but he's just looking to hold that main Raven Blue Conservatory as he hides the card. I didn't get to see what it was. Most likely, I did see a 2 energy 1 power cost card that could be the Hidden Blade to enable him to draw more cards if he wants to sacrifice his own Sand Soldier, or of course kill an incoming card. But if that Valmon's Lair goes down, he currently has no units in the back. He already utilized that Azir champion as early as that turn 2, so nowhere to be found. How is he going to close the game out? Because he holds up to 7. Does he just kind of pack the battlefield from there? Because how is he moving to Valmon's Lair thinking a little bit slightly ahead?
Yeah, I honestly don't think the Kaiser's going to have the resources to crack this, knowing what we have the Azir in hand. The only thing I can think of doing is accelerating the Watcher, but then one Arise, anything like that, and the crackback is unreal from the Azir match. And the Azir player, just again, looking at body language, looks almost bored. He's like, come on, finish your turn. I'm about to win 2-0.
Oh, yeah.
Like, the shame being, like, going 8-2, I don't think is enough to make it into top 8. I would love to see an Azir in top 8, but I think this man is probably winning the best of at this point.
Oh, absolutely. I would only imagine probably the Azir has already been effectively eliminated going X3, or maybe both Azirs are making a deep run in day number 2. That would be awesome to see. Perhaps a lot of the current Bologna players have been sleeping on Azir. I know China was sleeping on Azir for a little bit, and he is a great deck, has a lot of great play lines, but sometimes a bit of a linear strategy that your opponent could kind of capitalize on. But it looked to be working quite well against the likes of Kaiser, despite having a double falling star opening, getting a piercing light defined. And here it is. We said it, BMU, the only out he had to try to clear both of these battlefields, it will be that Watcher coming down at accelerated speed and able to clear both of these battlefields with the current units at hand. But now Rock Low has a lot to do, because if both of these Sand Soldiers go down, he has, wait, how did that one get in the back?
No, it's not. He moved it around to check the might. All 3 of those Sand Soldiers are on the Raven Bloom.
Okay.
They definitely are. Yeah, he moved it around to kind of check the might on everything, which I think. And so the hidden cards on the Raven Bloom as well. Watcher moving in to Vilemor's Lair. And he should get the kill here. And you know what? Azir, maybe not as established as we thought he was going to be. Like, there's not much of a crackback in hand. We don't see the Arise in hand. So he hasn't got, like, those readied units ready to go. So it might take him a little bit of a while to set back up. He's only going to have one Sand Soldier potentially in his base with that GA attached.
Yeah, that's what we were getting at earlier, because even if he was able to hold from the Raven Bloom, he has to remember the trigger real quick. Remember the battlefield trigger. Try to pick up that Arise. It is going to be a Doran Shield. One step closer to that Arise. Not too shabby, but Discipline does get played out. +2 on one of these Sand Soldiers. Should be enough, because I think currently it does bring that total might on that battlefield up to 5. I can only assume, 3 and then 2.
Yeah, because obviously the Watcher reduces everything. So he can buff something +2 here, and then wind wall any sort of like Void Seeker or Hex Deck or anything like that. It doesn't feel like a good use of it, but it will keep that battlefield safe, and that's kind of what he needs. Did he just top deck a Desert's Call? I think he did.
He did.
Which is a game changer right now.
Yeah, he needs some units, and I believe Desert Call, is that an action speed spell?
Action, yeah. So you can play it in this turn to get 2 Sand Soldiers to the base, ready for the crackback next turn. And he's got a not so fast. So I think he's got enough runes for a not so fast to stop any Void Seeker shenanigans to allow the Kaiser player to win here. But no, the Kaiser player says, actually, no, I will trade. So the 1 Sand Soldier survives. 1 should go back to base, right? With a GA?
With the GA, yep.
Yeah, did he not put that back to base? Oh, is that one that's already gone there? Okay, that's fine. As long as you remembered that.
Yeah, the one sand soldier with the silver shears still standing, looking at the Yordle to try to conquer. Because if you hold up to 7, but actually, Richard has to think carefully. Because if you open up a showdown, you enable something like the Desert Call, but instead the Hidden Blade coming down on the Yordle. Knowing that Kaiser just has 4 runes, doesn't have enough for that interesting or the important Thermo Beam. But you don't have that window of opportunity to play the Desert Call. And let me look it up real quick. It is indeed a action, right? Because I wonder why he played the Hidden Blade and not the Desert Call to try and repeat.
There we go. Not So Fast comes down against the Rocket Barrage, and that is GG. The Azir takes it 2-0 over the Kaiser. Great play by the Azir player. We didn't really see him struggle too much in that matchup. It seemed like he's in complete control almost the entire game.